Welcome to this powerful book summary. Today, we're exploring one of the most raw, honest, and life-changing books ever written. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, a man who turned unimaginable pain into unstoppable power. But before we dive into the lessons, let's first ask, who is David Goggins? Why does his story matter so much? David Goggins is not your typical motivational speaker. He's not someone who talks about mindset from the comfort of a studio. He lived it, through blood, sweat, trauma, and fire. He grew up in a household filled with violence. His father was abusive. He and his mother were beaten. As a child, he struggled with poverty, racism, learning difficulties, and crippling self-doubt. He was overweight, depressed, and completely lost. At one point, he weighed nearly 300 pounds, working as a pest exterminator, spraying cockroaches at night, barely surviving. But then something changed. One day, David looked in the mirror and realized, no one is coming to save me. If I want to change, it's up to me. And what followed was nothing short of a transformation. He lost over 100 pounds in 3 months to qualify for Navy SEAL training, one of the hardest military programs in the world. He failed it twice, but came back, and on the third try, he made it. He became a Navy SEAL, one of the very few African Americans to do so. But that wasn't enough. He went on to become an ultra-endurance athlete, running over 60 ultramarathons, including the toughest foot races on Earth. He set the world record for most pull-ups in 24 hours. He became a motivational force, not because of talent, but because of relentless mental toughness. His life is proof that no matter how broken your past is, no matter how many times you've failed, you can rebuild yourself into a warrior. And this book, Can't Hurt Me, is his story. But it's not just about him. It's about you. It's a manual for pushing past your limits, for destroying your excuses, for mastering your mind. So if you're tired of being average, if you want to become mentally, emotionally, and spiritually unbreakable, let's begin the journey through the 10 hard-hitting lessons from Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Chapter 1. Childhood trauma doesn't define you. David Goggins didn't come from success. He came from pain, deep, terrifying, and constant pain. He grew up in a violent home. His father beat him, his mother, and his brother. He was a scared little boy who wet the bed, stuttered badly, and failed in school. He was the only black kid in an all-white town, constantly harassed, bullied, and called names that no child should ever hear. But here's the shocking part. He doesn't use any of that as an excuse. He doesn't say, "Look how I suffered, so I deserve a break." No. He says, "Yes, I suffered, and because of that, I'm stronger." You see, most people live in the shadow of their past. They carry their trauma like chains. They say, "I didn't have supportive parents. I wasn't lucky. I was abused. I was hurt." And it's true, pain leaves scars. But what Goggins teaches us is this. You can use that pain as your reason to rise, or your excuse to fall. He could have chosen drugs, crime, or self-pity. But instead, he made a different choice. He chose to fight. Not with fists, but with focus, with fire, with total accountability. So ask yourself, are you letting your past define you, or are you using it to fuel your future? You don't get to control what happened to you, but you get to control what happens next. And that's the beginning of transformation. Chapter 2. Callous your mind. You've heard of calluses on your hands, right? They form when you do hard, repetitive work, lifting weights, climbing ropes, using tools. At first, it hurts. Your skin tears. It stings. But then something happens. The skin hardens. It adapts. It becomes stronger. Goggins says, your mind works the same way. When you avoid pain, your mind stays soft. When you avoid discomfort, your mind stays weak. But when you face pain regularly, your mind begins to harden. It builds resilience. It learns how to survive. How do you callous your mind? You deliberately put yourself in hard situations. You wake up early when you don't feel like it. You run in the cold. You study longer. You push through tiredness. You choose the stairs over the elevator. You do the extra reps. And each time your mind says, I didn't die. I'm stronger now. Goggins didn't become mentally tough by watching YouTube videos or reading quotes. He became tough by doing the work, day in, day out, when no one was watching. He once ran over 100 miles with broken feet. Why? Because he wanted to teach his mind that pain is not the end, it's just the beginning. If you want a soft life, you'll have a soft mind. But if you want a strong mind, you have to earn it. So from today, choose discomfort. Face the cold. Take the hard path. Because every moment of struggle is a step toward becoming unbreakable. Chapter 3. The Accountability Mirror. One of Goggins' most powerful tools wasn't a workout plan. It wasn't a Navy SEAL technique. It was something sitting in his bedroom, a mirror. He called it the accountability mirror. Every night, he stood in front of it and told himself the raw, unfiltered truth. Not what he wanted to hear, but what he needed to hear. He'd say, "You're fat. You're lazy. You're not studying. You're lying to yourself." Harsh, yes, but also powerful. Because here's the truth. You cannot grow without truth. We live in a world full of fake positivity. Just believe in yourself. Be kind to yourself. Yes, kindness is important, but not when it becomes a shield from the truth. Goggins says, if you're failing, own it. If you're wasting time, say it. If you're scared, admit it. Why? Because once you take full accountability, no one can control you. Not your past. Not your boss. Not your fear. The accountability mirror is not about shame. It's about ownership. It's about saying, I may not like what I see, but I have the power to change it. So here's your challenge. Look in the mirror tonight. Be honest. Brutally honest. Write sticky notes if you have to. Your flaws, your goals, your promises. Put them on that mirror. Face them every day. And do something about them. That's how change begins. Not with lies. Not with comfort. With truth, reflection, and action. Chapter 4. Embrace the suck. Embrace the suck. This is one of Goggins' most famous mantras. But what does it really mean? It means, stop running from pain. Walk straight into it. Because pain isn't the enemy. Comfort is. Most of us have been conditioned to avoid discomfort. If it's cold, we turn on the heater. If it's hard, we give up. If it hurts, we stop. But Goggins teaches the opposite. He says, growth is found inside the suffering. Let me give you an example. During Navy SEAL training, Goggins went through Hell Week, a brutal, sleepless 5-day test designed to break even the toughest. He was soaked, cold, and barely alive. Most people rang the bell and quit. But Goggins leaned into the pain. He told himself, This is where champions are made. He didn't just survive the suck, he embraced it. In life, your hell week might not be military. It might be heartbreak, failure, financial struggle, loneliness, injury. But instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" Pain has a message. And most people never hear it, because they numb it, run from it, or quit too early. Goggins says, "Suffering is the true test. It will teach you who you are." If you want to build resilience, embrace the suck. Choose the extra mile. Choose the hard conversation. Choose discomfort on purpose. And over time, you'll become someone who doesn't just endure pain. You'll be someone who thrives in it. Chapter 5. The 40% Rule. One of the most powerful ideas from Goggins is what he calls the 40% Rule. It goes like this. When your mind tells you, "I'm done," you're only at 40% of your true capacity. That means you have 60% more to give. Physically, mentally, emotionally, even when you feel empty. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the truth. Your brain is wired to protect you from pain. It wants to keep you safe, comfortable, and far away from danger. So when you're tired during a run, or ready to quit your studies, or feel like you're at your emotional limit, your brain screams, "Stop. This is too much." But in reality, you've just hit the first wall, not the final one. Goggins proved this over and over. He once ran 100 miles in under 24 hours, on broken bones, with no proper training, fueled only by willpower. He was vomiting, bleeding, and nearly unconscious. But he didn't stop. Why? Because he refused to believe the first signal his brain sent. He knew that wasn't the real limit. That was fear. You see, most people live their entire lives inside that first 40%. They never find out what they're truly made of, because they stop too soon. But imagine what would happen if you pushed through just 10% more, then 20%, then 30%. You'd realize you are far more powerful than you ever thought. So next time your mind tells you to stop, smile, because now you know. That's just the beginning. Chapter 6. The Cookie Jar. When life gets hard, we often forget how far we've already come. We forget what we've survived. We forget how many mountains we've already climbed. That's why Goggins created something he calls the cookie jar. It's not a real jar. It's a mental list, a place where he stores every hard thing he's ever accomplished, every struggle he overcame, every impossible task he finished. It started when he was exhausted during a brutal race. His body wanted to quit. His mind was screaming. So he dug into the cookie jar and remembered, at the time he passed SEAL training, at the time he ran 50 miles with stress fractures, at the time he survived abuse and didn't break. And he told himself, "If I did that, I can do this." The cookie jar is a reminder that you are not weak. You've already done hard things. You've already survived. But most people forget their victories. They downplay their success. They only focus on what's going wrong. Goggins says, stop doing that. Collect your victories. Store them. Use them. So here's your challenge. Start your own cookie jar. Write down 5 to 10 things you've already overcome. Keep them close. And when life punches you in the face, reach into the jar. Remind yourself, I've been through worse. I can do this too. That's not ego. That's survival fuel. Chapter 7. Be uncommon among the uncommon. Making it into the Navy SEALs puts you among the elite. But Goggins wasn't satisfied with being elite. He wanted to be the best among the best. He calls it being uncommon among the uncommon. In SEAL training, most guys just tried to survive. But Goggins, he tried to lead, to push harder, to stand out. Even among warriors, he wanted to be a warrior. That mentality isn't about arrogance. It's about never settling, never saying, "This is good enough," because the moment you settle, growth stops. In life, you might already be ahead of most people. Maybe you're in the top 10%. You've got the degree, the job, the fitness, the skills. But Goggins would ask, are you the best version of you? Or just better than most? Big difference. Being uncommon means you show up early when others show up on time. You finish strong when others coast to the finish line. You do the extra rep, the extra call, the extra mile, not to impress others, but to prove to yourself that you will not lower your standard. This is rare. Most people stop once they've made it. But the great ones, they raise the bar again and again. So don't just aim to be good, or even great. Be uncommon, even among the great. Chapter 8. Discipline over motivation. Motivation feels great, but it doesn't last. Goggins says, motivation is crap. Discipline is everything. Think about it. How many times have you been motivated to start something? To join the gym? To start a project? To change your life? And then what happens a few days later? That fire fades. The excitement dies. You skip a day. Then another. Soon, you're back where you started. That's because motivation is emotional. It depends on mood, weather, sleep, music, feelings. But discipline shows up no matter what. Discipline says, I'm tired, but I'm still doing it. I'm busy, but I won't skip today. I don't feel like it, but I committed, and I keep my word. Goggins woke up at 4 a.m. every day, even when he didn't want to. He ran in snowstorms, in pain, while bleeding, not because he was motivated, but because he was disciplined. And here's the key. Discipline doesn't make life harder. It makes it better. It gives you power over your emotions. It frees you from excuses. It builds habits that carry you forward, even when motivation is gone. So stop waiting to feel like it. Instead, train yourself to act regardless of feeling. That's where real freedom lives. Chapter 9. Use pain as fuel. Pain is a teacher. It shows up when something's wrong. It teaches you about weakness, fear, regret. But it also reveals strength, purpose, and growth. Most people run from pain. They hide from it, numb it, avoid it. But Goggins says, use it. He used the pain of racism, abuse, failure, obesity, not as a reason to quit, but as fuel to become unstoppable. Pain became his identity, not as a victim, but as a fighter. When he was running ultramarathons, and his legs were bleeding, his back was on fire, his feet broken, he didn't stop. Instead, he said, "This is where I go to war with myself." He visualized every insult, every moment of doubt, and he used that pain to push one more mile. Your pain has power, if you don't waste it. Think of your most painful moments. Now ask, what did they teach me? How can I grow from that? How can I use this to become stronger, sharper, tougher? You don't have to love pain. but you have to respect it. And when it shows up again, don't run. Stand tall. And say, "You came to break me, but you only made me stronger." Chapter 10. Master your mind. In the end, everything comes down to one thing: your mind. Goggins says, "You are the master of your mind, or its slave." Most people are slaves. They let fear stop them. They let doubt decide for them. They let comfort rule their actions. But Goggins trained his mind like a soldier. He made it obey. He made it work even when it screamed for rest. He taught it, "You're not in control, I am." Every day, he pushed beyond his limits, not to break his body, but to command his mind. He says, "You will never be great unless you master the conversation in your own head." So how do you do that? Talk back to fear. When your mind says, "I can't," you say, "Watch me." Repeat truths. "I've done hard things. I'll do this too." Visualize success. See yourself finishing the run, the exam, the project. Build evidence. Stack small wins daily until your mind has no room to doubt you. Your body can take more than you think. Your soul is stronger than you imagine. It's your mind that needs the training. Master it, and there's nothing that can stop you. So now you've heard the 10 brutal, honest, powerful lessons from Can't Hurt Me. But hearing is not enough. David Goggins didn't become unstoppable by reading books. He did it by living these lessons, every single day. He showed us that you can come from nothing, abuse, failure, obesity, fear, and still create a life of strength, endurance, and meaning. Not through luck, not through comfort, but through radical honesty, suffering, and action. So here's the truth. You don't need to be a Navy SEAL to be tough. You don't need to run 100 miles. But you do need to wake up and ask yourself, am I pushing past 40%? Am I running from pain or using it? Am I living by motivation or by discipline? Am I mastering my mind or being ruled by it? Because the only thing between who you are and who you could be is your willingness to suffer, grow, and never quit. So go out there, callous your mind, look into your accountability mirror, fill your cookie jar, embrace the suck, and most of all, don't ever ring that bell. Thank you for listening. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs strength. And remember, you're not done. You're just getting started.